This episode is brought to you by Indeed. Stop waiting around for the perfect candidate. Instead, use Indeed sponsored jobs to find the right people with the right skills fast. It's a simple way to make sure your listing is the first candidates see. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs have 4 times more applicants than non-sponsored jobs. So go build your dream team today with Indeed. Get a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply.
With new, gentler scented Clorox disinfecting wipes, clean finally smells as good as it feels on everything from lamps to ceiling fans, even on your kid's toy shark. Oh, ouch. Clorox disinfecting wipes, now available in crisp lemon. Find it on Amazon. Clorox, clean feels good.
Hey guys, and welcome to another episode of the Financial Freedom Podcast. I'm really delighted about today's guest, Brad Johnson, and he's with Evergreen Capital, and he is a part of a advisory firm that helps investors look into alternative investments. So for a lot of the segment in the cohort, the doctors, lawyers, dentists looking into alternative investments, alternative streams of income. I'm really delighted to have Brad on the show and pick his brain and add values. Brad, welcome.
Thanks for having me, Christopher.
Yeah.
It's a pleasure to be here. Yeah.
And briefly introduce yourself and we'll dive right into the questions.
Yeah. So Brad Johnson, Evergreen Capital. I used to be in private equity real estate, had my own firm, grew that portfolio, sold it around COVID, and was looking for, places to put my capital, talk to some investment advisors, wealth planners, and just wasn't real thrilled with the options that I was getting and being shown. It's something more than just traditional stock and bonds, 60-40. I'm a big believer in adding income and diversification to portfolios. And so I ended up building the company that I wanted to have help me. And so Evergreen Capital, focuses on high net worth investors that want to put their money to work in unique asset classes that a lot of them have some income component, but a lot of them have diversification and tax benefits in addition to just, boring stock and bonds that I think most people can handle on their own.
Yeah, I had another guest and he was talking about how real estate and the 8 to 10% returns, and these days 8 to 10% returns is not great at all. The people that come to Evergreen, what are they seeking? Are they looking for growth? You mentioned income. What kind of investments can achieve these types of returns that you help them with?
Yeah, they're looking for uniqueness. So they're looking for things that they can't get on their own or don't have the expertise to value on their own. So access. So there's a couple of main food groups that we focus on. One is real estate that has giant bonus depreciation. Usually it's affordable housing. So we'll help them access sponsors that we know in our network and I worked with before. Then 2, we do a lot of GP stakes investing. And so that's actually investing in private equity companies. You're buying into the asset management business. I love that investment asset class because you get to benefit from all the management fees and all the promotes that you normally are paying these private equity managers. So it's like you become a partner of their firm. So that's one of our verticals. Another one is we do a fair amount of long, short tax loss harvesting. So if a doctor or a lawyer needs to book some losses to offset gains or even ordinary income, they can utilize these strategies to make an investment in something that looks like an index, but also has giant tax benefits. And obviously that's a little bit different than the run-of-the-mill ETF.
Interesting. So the follow-up question I have for you is what sort of requirements, either income or net worth, that are required for investors to come to work with Evergreen?
Yeah, we're like a family office light. So if you have 50 million, you're going to the Goldman Sachs of the world. If you are worth, our sweet spot's kind of 2 to 20 million. And so we generally are working with higher net worth individuals, and we can certainly do the most for those people. But we also will take on younger clients that have that ambition and have a clear path to being there someday. It's just we can't do as many unique things on the tax side, right? Because when we're making investments to save a lot of money in taxes, we need a lot of money to make the investments to offset kind of one-for-one A dollar you make an investment, dollar you get in tax benefits is typically how it works.
Yeah. And in terms of the funds that you have, looks like you talked about GP stakes, which was private equity, and then niche real estate. When you say niche real estate, what does that mean for people listening?
Yeah, so it's really mostly affordable housing. So really what we're doing is either apartments that have an affordable component to it. So maybe 30% of the building is designated affordable housing rates. And so therefore you're getting a lot of tax benefits, or manufactured housing. So not a typical trailer park that you might think of, but a really nice community that looks like a subdivision, which has incredible tax benefits and high income relative to most asset classes that most people don't fully appreciate. You can get $1.50 for every dollar you put in tax losses that first year to offset other gains that you might have from your real estate portfolio. Or some doctors are pretty smart in that they'll convince their spouse to become a real estate professional, and then they can use those losses from their real estate investments to offset the doctor income, which is amazing. That's like the supercharged tax strategy play. But it's really tough to convince your spouse who might not be working to be like, hey, you got to go become a real estate professional now so we can get these tax benefits. But we do see it.
Yeah. Yeah, I know quite a few of the doctor listeners. They have that same thing. It's like they make the high 6 figures, 7 figures, and then the spouse goes in the reps and they have zero tax liability at the end of the year.
No, it's incredibly powerful if you do it legit. I've seen a couple of people that definitely not legit, and we advise them, don't even try. You gotta go legit. But the ones that do it, it's pretty powerful.
Yeah. For your funds and for your investments, what is the typical holding period, some of the returns, the fees associated? Talk about that.
Yeah, unfortunately, I can't talk about returns, although I would love to because they're quite good. But the fees, generally speaking, we're structured like an asset management firm, like a wealth manager, in that we're not trying to take a big promote. We are generally charging an asset management fee of 1% or less, depending on how much you are invested with us, for the assets that you're investing in that are alternative. So a lot of people will have, maybe they run their own ETFs or in stock portfolio and bond portfolio. Maybe they have a RIA do that for them, but then they also want the expertise of alternative asset management. And so we will be their private market advisor and just charge on the component that they end up investing in those alternative assets. Yeah. And so generally most people are writing kind of $250,000 checks and above. Some people $100,000 if we can see a path for them to grow over time and put that to work every 6 months or a year. Is generally what we focus on.
Interesting. Yeah, that was my next question, was the minimums. And talk about your tax strategy, because through real estate, obviously it's depreciation, but what is your tax strategy in various client profiles to compound their net worth?
Yeah, it's one of these funny things where most people don't think that heavily about taxes, but actually that's the most alpha that we can generally get people is tax alpha. If you're in a state like California and New York, your capital gains taxes are 37% often. And obviously your ordinary income is 50% in these states. Yeah. So if we can set you up with some of our more unique investments that can offset both of those channels, right? So your capital gains can get offset by our long short strategy that generates automatic tax loss harvesting every year, right? At a big number. And then we have a couple different ways on the ordinary income side. Namely, we can talk about some of the unique real estate strategies that we've already kind of talked about there, but there's also a trader fund, it's a hedge fund that generates ordinary income losses that you can use to offset your ordinary income, which was one of my favorite versions, because if you think about it, most doctors are not going to convince their spouse to become a real estate professional. And a lot of them don't want to go buy a short-term rental, which is a loophole in the tax system where you can offset ordinary income, but you have to become a hotel owner and you have to manage those properties yourself. And you have to all of a sudden own 3 different Airbnbs, and yet you're in surgery. So I think that's insane for most doctors. And so that's one of our favorite options, is to just put somebody in a trader fund, which will generate these returns. And it's not like we're doing something that is where we're betting on just 10 stocks. It's actually replicating various indexes. It's just putting a long overlay and a short overlay, right, over your investment that generates repeatable losses, both ordinary and capital gains.
Yeah. A lot of the guests have come onto the show talking about opportunity zone investing, and I know there's opportunity zone 1.0 and you talk about 2.0. So what's the difference? And for those who haven't heard of what opportunity zone is, describe that to the audience.
Yeah, at a basic level, it is the government incentivizing real estate owners to invest in areas of the country that they want to see improved. And this can be areas where you really don't want to invest, so you got to be careful. But there are zip codes in the country that they have decided that they want to see money go into that zip code to build housing for the most part. And if you go ahead and do that, you get the benefit of deferring your capital gain. So your investment, say you make a $100,000 check to an opportunity zone investment, that $100,000 can offset $100,000 of capital gains that you might have. And right now, Opportunity Zone 1.0, you only get one more year of that deferral. So it's just a deferral. It doesn't just disappear, right? Oftentimes, most tax strategies are about deferral. We're just pushing it off into the future. We're not magically making it disappear. We're just pushing it out and benefiting from the time value of money. And that's the same with opportunity zones. But 2.0, that was part of the recent bill, big, beautiful bill. Now that clock restarts in 2027. So if you make an investment in 2027, you will get 5 years of that deferral where you don't have to pay that 37% that we've talked about.
Wow.
Sorry, I take that back. California is one of the few, I think, states that does not acknowledge opportunity zone benefits. They don't acknowledge bonus depreciation either. They basically just say, give me the money. We're California, just give me the money. But most states do. Most states match the federal regulations on opportunity zones. And so, yeah, 2027, you make an investment, you get a 5-year deferral. And then if you hold it for 10 years, right? Normally these are developments, so they take a while. But if you hold that investment for 10 years, there's no taxes on the gains from that investment, including no bonus depreciation recapture, which is a nice little treat. So you would make the $100,000 investment. Over time, as they build the structure, you'll get bonus depreciation tax losses over that 10 years. Then 5 years, you repay the capital gains if you don't have some other strategy. All of our clients at that time would be, hey, remember that 5-year deferral? Let's go ahead and do something else to offset that again. But then by year 10, you sell the property, you get your money back, and there's no taxes on it, which is a pretty good deal.
Wow. And if people people listening to this podcast want to connect with you, contact you, and learn more about Evergreen and how it can help support their goals and questions, how can they do that?
Yeah, they should go to our website, evergreencap.com. They can shoot us an email, info@evergreencap.com. We got a lot of tax resources on the site. We are big believers that you got to match your investment strategy with your tax strategy. And certainly we can help people walk through that.
Yeah, excellent. Thanks again for coming onto the show. And we really appreciate you adding so much value to the audience, and keep up the great work.
Yeah, thanks for having us on, Christopher.